Hi,
Okay.
Lizette.
Hi. Hi, I'm Lisette from Fangirlish. It's great to see you.
You
You too.
too.
You too.
Meet the hunks.
Oh, well, I've been super excited for this show since you talked about it during the TCA panel. Like this was a hit during the TCA. Everyone was talking about it, and I got to watch the first episode, and it was as good as I expected.
Thank you.
It's good to know.
So I wanted to ask. There's a lot of talk when you guys are introducing each other. No, each other. When you're in the intro package, there's a lot of talk about sort of vulnerability, what it takes to be a Hallmark hunk, and like sort of this pride for that I wanted to ask Jonathan and you guys sort of like because the Hallmark is sort of the antithesis to the toxic masculinity. That's why we love Hallmark. So how is that coming into this and sort of owning it? And I'd like to know from Jonathan first and from you guys.
Well, I think what's so wonderful about Hallmark Channel and the way we have our hero in these movies is that our hero isn't afraid to talk about his feelings. He isn't afraid to open up. He is more masculine and more of a man because of his courage. And I think that's the most courageous masculine thing you can do in the world is be vulnerable and have the ability to say, I need help, or the ability to say, hey, I'm scared, or the ability to say, this is a crunchy thing and I don't know how to navigate it. Let's figure it out. That shows so much vulnerability and so much heroism, in my opinion. And I think that's exactly why, America's going to fall in love with all 10 of our guys is because they had the courage to go on national television and be vulnerable. And that is the most courageous thing. Sure, they're hot. Sure, they look good in Christmas sweaters, but that's not what the show's about. I mean, it is, but it isn't. Like, there's so many more layers to it.
So any of you guys
Jonathan, how was it being vulnerable?
I think, and I was talking to Blake about this the other day. You're gonna get a lot of good leaders out there, right? And it doesn't always take a high level of vulnerability to be a good leader. You're gonna get good leaders that are not as vulnerable. But when you're talking about Hallmark and what we're doing, to be able to be a great leader, you need that vulnerability. And so that's what I make the differentiation. When you're tapping into your emotions, when you're sharing your vulnerability with the audience, it's really making you a great leader. And that's what Hallmark's looking for.
Well, I think to kind of add on to that, the vulnerability really brings you back to the present moment. It takes you out of your head. You can't be
Mm.
planning too far ahead. And there's so many emotions in the small things that you can pick up on, especially in some of these challenges that we do, or even just day to day. And even being as, a man, those moments of being in the present and being able to read emotion, the vulnerability is not just expressing how I feel, but it's understanding how you feel as well and being able to sympathize and empathize with others.
Which you did on camera in your scenes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was imperative.
I would like to add that, in order to be vulnerable, there takes a sense of comfortability to be able to be that way. And I'm sure you can imagine being vulnerable with 10 guys that you've just met. It's kind of challenging. But I think that also speaks to the type of men that Jonathan selected because it was very easy to open up because you saw every guy was in the same shoes as you. And every guy was willing to take that risk and be vulnerable because they knew you were all in the same boat.
So be ready for some tears.
Yeah, get ready to cry,
Be
America.
ready for some emotional.
Sure, they're gonna look good shirtless, but you're also gonna bawl your eyes out. Yeah.
Um, I also wanted to ask because I remember Jonathan talked during the TCA panel about sort of the idea of more diverse Hallmark. And when you see sort of this the faces that we're seeing, you can clearly see that there's an idea of a more diverse Hallmark. Was that something that you were thinking about like when casting started happening? Was like because I know you also wanted to tell more queer stories. We talked
Yeah.
about it during the TCA.
I mean, we didn't send out with the mission to like we set out with the mission to find guys that had the characteristics that it takes to be a Hallmark leading man. Are they charming? Are they funny? Do they have a sense of humor? Do they have a good wit? Do they have charm coming out of their ears? Do they have good teeth? Do they look good in a Christmas sweater? All the things that we have come to know and love about our Hallmark leading men is what we're looking for. And in that, we're able to find in that group of people that had all those qualities, we're able to find such a great, diverse group of unknown talents, which you see 4 of them here with me now, that really reflects the audience that watches the network. So like what we say is like Hallmark channels for everyone, Christmas is for everyone, Finding Mr. Christmas is for everyone. So we wanted to make sure that also the people that they see in the show and all the contestants they see are people that they can identify with back home.
in for you guys, because like I've only watched the first episode, but there was a real sense of these people can be friends from when you sort of meet each other. And there are a lot of reality shows, and a lot of them are just cutthroat. You're like, oh, these people are just want to kill each other at every second, and there's full competition. And this felt like, of course, it's a competition because it is, but it felt, especially at the beginning, you were drinking hot chocolate and you were like kind of getting to know each other, and it felt really warm. And I think it helped sort of the feeling of, oh, this is what finding Mr. Christmas is. So I want to talk about the friendships, or sort of like, how do you build the relationship with the other guys?
Yeah, I want to jump on this because I was one of the first that, comes into the house, and I get to watch all these guys come in. And similar to what Jonathan was talking about, when you just know when somebody has that it factor, and every single guy that walked through that door, you could just feel the presence, and you felt safe, you felt comfortable, like Blake was saying. And it allowed us to be vulnerable, and it became this camaraderie right out the gate. Like we were brothers, we were family. It was like we've known each other for years. And it wasn't until we get to that first elimination where we realize, oh, right, this is actually a real competition. We actually have to be competitive in this, and we all want to win. But these are such great guys because they have that it factor, they have that vulnerability, and they all really support each other.
You can compete with each other and still root for each other. That's a big thing.
Right. Yeah, and for me, it felt like it was a competition. It's a competition about doing your best, not about like making sure someone else is doing badly. Kind of.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Someone else doesn't have to fail for you to succeed.
Right. Felt so good. And I want to talk about the challenges, because even though I haven't seen all that many, like the idea for you guys, like you get to act with these big Hallmark stars, and I'm sure most of them you've seen, and you're like, oh my God, is it a little nerve-wracking as you're going into it, but you got to get into your game?
Ezra, is it nerve-wracking?
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely. There's so many things going on, and our goal is to like be one of those people up there on the screen in the Hallmark movies we know and love. But there's something you can't prepare for, and when that happens for the first time, and now all of a sudden you're in a scene with one of these people you really look up to, and they're so talented. They're also very warm and inviting and helpful, but the nerves are firing, and I felt like I was wearing blinders. I had no idea what was going on. Just don't forget your lines. Don't try to do everything you're being judged on. And I had no idea what I was up against until I felt that. And oh my goodness, I was so nervous.
I would also like to add that as surprised as we were at the challenges, I cannot imagine how surprised you guys will be when you
Yes.
We put their feet to the fire, we put them through some pretty insane challenges. One of them involves hot chocolate and they get covered in it. So let's just say that, okay? Let's just say that.
How much are you guys gonna be? That was not a question I was gonna ask, but how much are you gonna be shirtless? Like, because Jonathan keeps teasing shirtless, so now I have to ask.
There is some shirtless scenes in this show, and it's their creative prerogative, whatever they want to do, in certain scenes, and sometimes that involves wanting to, try to do the scene shirtless. So that's up to them.
Like, if it's gonna get good points, you do it.
I mean, there's a reason I'm not shirtless. Okay, there's a reason I don't go shirtless. You don't have to. I never do, but sometimes you want to.
The answer to that question is every opportunity we got.
Yeah. I wish we had like a ticker tape for like the amount of times they would look at us and go, "Can we take our shirt off for this? Can we take our shirt? Is it cool if we take our shirt off for this?" And we're like, "You do you guys, whatever you want to do."
Every advantage. Right. And as you're doing the challenges, sort of, does it get like the nerves that Ezra talk about? Does that get easier, or are you still like challenge 5 and you're still like, what am I doing? This person, this is a different person. So it's not like, oh yeah, we got through this. No, comes some other stuff.
I don't think it gets easier. You definitely just learn more about yourself and how to approach these challenges and keep yourself calmer than the one before. But every situation is unique and different as it comes, and you just have to be able to, like I said earlier, remain present in that moment, and hope for the best sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely reminds me of my track and field days, refining the skill over the time in the episodes. However, every time you're stepping into a competition, the nerves come. It's game time. It's that nervous energy that you need to execute.
I think that's also what makes this great. Is I think none of us would be here in the first place if we weren't just good learners and open to like become better And the more we did this is what made it such a great competition, and it did help.
They each grow by the end of the season. You've watched all of them grow and learn something about themselves that they can then take out to their auditions, to their, castings, all the things they want to do. They've like, when you're done with this show, like we've put you through it. Like there ain't no audition room you can walk in and they're gonna like try to pull a fast one on you. You're like, oh, I've done that, and I've done it live in front of 2 million people. Like, yeah, a kissing scene, yeah, okay, I've done this. Like, I know what this feels like. You know what I mean? So they've really kind of gone through everything you can go through.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely love that, and I love what I got into see of the show. So I hope it becomes everyone's favorite reality TV show in this holiday
too.
season. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
That's it.